So my objective for this project basically was to make a series of works based on walks within the place I'm staying, to create a connection with the land by making marks on paper. I wanted to walk, to experience the place, to feel the place, but also use the elements in a landscape, like this tree, for example, that has been here for I don't know how long. It's not alive anymore, but it will leave its marks. It's still present in the landscape. It's got a history. I'm really interested by that history. The concept of timing is important in my practice. For me, it's really about collaborating between the medium and the elements in a landscape, getting the right balance. So I've mixed a green that is similar to the grass in a reasonably strong colour, which I will apply on the paper in the hope that once the paint is on and I'm walking, the grass and everything else will leave its mark. Needs to go upside down. The water would have washed quite a bit of the paint away, but every step, every action will make a difference. So my idea is really to create a connection with the land, I suppose. The marks, the tree leaves, the marks are relevant to the place where I am now. And with those marks I'm planning to work back in the studio. Watercolour is of course a water-based medium, but once it has dried up it really allows you to create textures or change the surfaces with sharp objects. You can of course manually dig into the paper with sharp objects or scratch in it, but in this case I wanted to let the tree do the work and the wind. So why am I doing this? I was so lucky to spend some time on this land, and the last time I came here I actually made paintings. I came back here, and usually when I come back to a place like this I have quite strong images or visual images coming up in my head that lead to paintings. I came here and nothing came. But what I would like to do, what I wanted to do was somehow feel a better connection with the land. And I've done this in the past as well, where I worked with the land. That's actually how I started my art career back in the Netherlands, working with nature. I do think if we, sit still and sort of contemplate about the land we live on or we stand on, it creates a connection between the past and also the now as well. For me, being here now becomes more valuable thinking about what was here before and in the past. I think that's really important in terms of us going forward and respecting the land. So what I'll do is with this, I'll let it dry. I'll decide if it has enough interest in the background, if it has enough surface interest, if it does remind me to the place we're at the moment. I need to be able to see with those marks on paper that it relates to this land here. Once I'm happy with that, and it might take a few layers, I will take it back into the studio and I will keep working on it in the studio. So the next day I woke up to a beautiful morning. My idea was to introduce movement. I wanted to experiment with wind. It was quite a windy day, so I started to roll up a piece of paper and applying quite a wet layer of a sort of a mid-grey. Normally when I work with watercolor, I start working in lighter tones. I apply the first layers in like a softer, lighter tone color and work gradually towards my darker tones. I'm really interested in the effects that the paint makes together with the other elements. These are marks or textures or surfaces that I personally cannot paint with a brush or by hand. So during my third walk, I came across this patch of land with a spiky native grass, and my idea was to apply watercolor paint on paper and drag it across on top of the spiky grass. For my next piece of paper, my idea was to put that on top of a native bush. They are quite spiky. So I did the same. I applied a layer of watercolor and let it dry and let it sit on top of the bush. On my final walk, I came across this place with an old gum tree. I decided I wanted to do something with that gum tree. I wasn't really interested to paint the actual gum tree, but more about letting the gum tree do the work for me. The best way I could think of was to create this cylinder of paper and applying a couple of washes. With the force of the wind, the cylinder and the wet washes would be pushed up against the leaves and the branches and would leave marks and indentations on the paper. I wanted to leave this cylinder in the tree for a couple of days and come back each day to apply another wash. Even though the paint would be dry, the force of the wind up against the branches and sharp points would leave indentations on the paper. So I found this branch sticking out and hanging just above the grass. So I made another cylinder of paper and applied it, pushed it around the branch. The wind would make it bounce up and down and push the cylinder and the wet paint onto the grass underneath.
Get some of that.
Because that's basically what will happen. And as it dries, it will leave its mark.
But why is it important to you for these marks to be made in nature? Why can't you do them in the studio?
It's all about creating a connection with the land. So if I'm in a studio and do this, there's no connection with being here.
Yeah.
This place is special. And by using the elements from this place, it creates that extra connection. And that's important. And it's not a really windy day, but I'm still using those elements. And that's the beauty of watercolor, that you can do things like that and it will show up.
Do you think nature can do something beyond what you can do?
Yes, I can't do this with brushes or with my hand or with using my watercolor skills. It's totally out of my control. And that's what I find interesting. Alright, I'll come back a bit later and I'll apply a second layer and build it up like that. So my idea was to create some more cylinders, apply washes and push them into those spiky bushes. I ended up with quite a number of those paper cylinders across the area. Snakes. Alright. My work is as much about the process as the outcome. It's really about the experience at that time, at that moment in the landscape. I am a painter. Images appear in my mind. Unwanted, triggered, short and sharp, the start of a journey, not leaving me alone. Making no sense, yet having a purpose, to explore the process once more, the painting looking for the painter. So I've come back to my studio in Newport, Melbourne, and I've got a number of paintings that I've made in Cavendish, in Gariwerd Country. Some of them I'm still working on, I'm still picking in it. This one is one that I've made recently. I actually like the back as much as I do the front. But this will be the surface that I'm working with. And I'm hoping you can see all the marks and scratches that the leaves and grass, branches have left on the paper. You can almost feel it. Fly, to be free, looking up, looking through. Take me up, to the sun, with shades like stone, where eyes don't matter, feeling one, you and I, like no other, loving you, one wild country.